So let's just reflect on this for a second. Why is it so challenging sometimes to identify the needs of another person? Sometimes we don't bring our full attention to really understand what someone's asking you. It's not just hearing the words in one ear, it's turning, focusing, making that contact with them. Sometimes we project. I do this all the time. Right? Someone tells you about something, you immediately think about how you would feel if you were in that situation, and you project onto them that what they need is what you would need in that situation. Right? So sometimes we're not paying enough attention, sometimes we project, sometimes also we don't want to hear. Right? We prefer that what they need is this thing. Maybe we talked about giving tzedakah versus gimut chasadim before. We prefer to imagine that what they need is the thing we want them to because it's easier for us or because it's what we want. We want to avoid the real thing. And you could think of so many examples of giving acts of kindness that are not based on the needs of another. You know, the classic one is, the person who goes to like a village and says, I'm bringing you clothes and I'm giving out clothes to a village that's poor, but then the person who makes clothes in that village no longer has a job. Right? So you think you're doing something to help, but you're really, you're causing trouble. I'll say one for me that like really hits home was I was on the subway once, or waiting for the subway. I had an important meeting. They're all important in theory, right? That's what we think. I was waiting for a subway to arrive, and a woman came up to me, like from behind, and said, "Please, sir, can you help me?" I did not look at her. I did not look up. I took out my wallet and took out a couple dollars and went to give it to her. And then as I gave it to her, or tried to give it to her, I looked up, and she said, no. And then I realized she was having a medical crisis. Like she was not feeling well. She would ultimately faint. And thank God, everyone in the area helped her, and police arrived, and the ambulatory arrived, and she was okay. But it was such an obvious moment where I wasn't even there. I was not doing any chesed. I heard a request, and I was like, oh, let me just take care of this. I'm just gonna give the money and move on. And I didn't for a second even look and make eye contact to see that this person had something else. I didn't even wait for a question. I didn't clarify what their needs were at all. And so as we think about reflecting on this today and what's going on in Israel and what's been happening, so certainly, and this has been a discussion, step one is clarifying what are the needs. What are the needs not only of Israel as a country and the Jewish people broadly, but individuals. There are people who are working so hard on WhatsApps and conversations to clarify this one person, what is their need, or this unit, what is their need, or this family, what's their need. Is it a hug? Is it financial support? Is it help on social media? We had Rabbi Pupko and Benny, and they talked about how it's not a financial relationship. That's part of it, but it's about two communities bonding, and it goes both ways. Nativa Asara trying to anticipate the needs of Englewood and New Jersey, Englewood and Tanafly, and the same the other way. Both sides of the relationship trying to anticipate and understand the needs of another as a way to strengthen their bonds. And I should say, I've seen a little bit on social media, people saying, no Mishloach Manot this year, send everything to Israel, which I think is so important. We need to strengthen and focus and continue to bring our focus to Israel. But it's also important for us to remember that there's community here. There are those in need here. We have to be mindful. We have to do chesed towards, for example, our students. And again, that doesn't start with, I'm nowhere near a college campus and I have an opinion about what should happen on a college campus. It starts with talking to people on college campuses, hearing from them, understanding, what are your needs? What are you feeling right now? How can I identify your needs? And then we could talk about how to address those needs. And not just broad North American Jewry, but also within our homes, within our families. Can we take that moment and focus on the need of that individual or our community? I remember just one story was, I had a friend of mine, a close friend of mine, my friend Dan, was working around the clock after October 7th. I don't think it was everywhere. I don't think he went to work. I think he spent 2 weeks just nonstop doing stuff for Israel, all day, all night. And I caught him one time and I just heard him say that he was so burnt out. And I didn't, there are ways to support the work he's doing, and many people were doing that, but I had a different idea. I was like, I'm just gonna invite Dan to come over on Saturday night, just to sit with me, and we'll play video games, right? Which is maybe an unexpected direction to go in, but I felt like Dan needs an hour to not think about what's going on. Dan needs an hour to just enjoy himself and let off steam, and then Sunday morning when he wakes up, he'll run back and start sending bags again. And so it felt like for me, that was a moment where I was successful with chesed. I was able to notice a need of someone, and I was able to, in that moment, give them the thing that they need.